Hi,
Welcome, everyone.
welcome. As we get people trickling in, let's have a little conversation. If you can use the Q&A option at the bottom of the screen, um, tell me how was your weekend? Did anyone do any fun, or is everyone just studying for midterms? How are midterms going for you guys? I guess no one had a very eventful weekend. I can tell you about my weekend. I don't know if anyone is watching WandaVision, but if anyone has been watching WandaVision, I would love to hear your thoughts about the show. It's very interesting. I don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't watched it, but for those that are into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what are your thoughts on the show? Wow, we have a quiet group today. um, yes, we were talking about WandaVision. I'm watching WandaVision right now from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so I'm just curious about what people think about it because that's all I've been doing, watching WandaVision this entire week and last week's. Um, oh, you haven't watched it because of midterms? I know. I'm guilty of putting my midterm studying a little bit to the side so I can watch WandaVision. Guilty pleasure, but I understand midterm season right now. So yeah, I mean, we gotta study.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. So, welcome to today's Sarcast, the basics of planning a successful gap year, hosted by the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. Today, we will talk about what a gap year is, what purpose it should serve, and the different activities that can be done during a gap year. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nayeli Lopez. I am one of the SARC peer consultants here, and I am joined today by my fellow colleague, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hafen. I am a fourth year double majoring in political science and psychology.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please submit them through the Zoom Q&A feature, which is located at the bottom of your screen. We will be addressing all questions at the end. This event will be recorded. And without further ado, let's get started. Carissa, you could test the next slide, please. Thank you. So we're gonna get started with the purpose of a gap year. So a gap year can be used for different things. It really depends on what you want to get out of it. And this could look like traveling, volunteering, um, doing any internships or fellowships, or just getting hands-on experience through a part-time job or even a full-time job. And this is just to serve you as gaining more experience. That way you can become more competitive as a student if that's something you want to do going back to school, or just as an employee if you're trying to get a different type of job. So this will all help you be able to expand your resume or your curricular vitae. And when planning ahead, some things you want to consider to be able to, get a sense of where you're headed is, what do you want to do? So what do you want to get out of this, right? Where do you want to go? Do you want to stay here? Do you want to do something out of state or maybe even out of the country? What goals do you hope to achieve? How much are you able to spend? So that's something you want to keep in mind too, because even some programs like volunteering programs do have a fee. So you just want to start thinking about that too. And you want to establish a timeline with the firm end date, just because you want to come to something that is effective and productive. And it's important to have timelines just to get a sense of where you're headed. So it is important that you remain engaged and spend your time doing something that will further your personal, academic, or professional development. Next slide, please. Thank you. So if you are considering returning back to school after your gap year, you want to maybe consider drafting an application. So doing this as an undergrad, regardless if it's something you want to consider, you never know, your mind might change. But this will allow you to have a complete draft for later and just easier editing. If you do decide to apply and if you are accepted but still want to take your gap year, you may defer your admission for the years they approve. Sometimes they can approve up to 4 years, depending on the program that you apply. So this is just something, if it's something that is lingering at the back of your head, it's something you might want to consider as current undergrads. Next slide, please. And some popular options that we have seen is going abroad. So this could be through a program or just by yourself or with a couple of friends. We do have a resource sheet that will be sharing with you at the end of the presentation. And you can look into more options regarding this. You can also do some type of volunteering. So you want to spend more time in the field you like or want to get to know better. So you don't have to necessarily stick to the interest you maybe had at the beginning. Maybe you want to explore something else, expand your knowledge and experience. And this is a good thing to consider to do it through. You can also do work. So getting more work experience in your field and maybe even like studying. So if your goal is to go back to school, you might want to do something related to your field that will enhance your profile as a student. Just a reminder, there is no right answer. This gap year is for your own benefit and what you see is best fit for yourself and your academic or personal goals. Next slide, please.
All right. So the first option that we're going to talk about right now is going abroad. And going abroad is a very fun option, right? Going across the world to learn something new. And there's a lot of programs. There's so many fellowships, and we're going to talk about a few that I personally find a little bit more interesting. So next slide, please. All right. So listed here are 4 of the fellowships that I find really interesting. Of course, there's so many, and we're going to share a list with you at the end, but these are the ones that are funded and are international. And there's a kind of range of what you can do based on each one. So the first one is the German Academic Exchange Service, also known as DAD. This is a fellowship for students who want to be part of a master's program or study at a German university. And so you can study there and you can still take the degree back home, so back here into the United States. The second one is Fulbright, and this one has 2 options. So the first option is study/research. So you would conduct research at a university of your choice abroad, or the second option, which is English teaching assistantships. You would teach English at a university or a place abroad of your choice. And again, this is funded and it's really popular. The third one is Henry Luce, and Henry Luce is a 1-year internship in East or Southeast Asia for those with little academic or personal experience with Asia. People that are part of Henry Luce, they kind of intern for NGOs, government agencies, private companies, universities, think tanks, museums. It's a broad range of things. And so if this is something that interests you, this is also really well funded. And the fourth one is a Boren Award. A Boren Award is an award that gives funding to study something related to U.S. interests. So there's different types of interest that there is. So like you can do language, research, internships, and based on this, you'll get funded. And it's really interesting because the way it's determined is by U.S. interests. So if the U.S. determines it that it's going to benefit the U.S. in the long run, they'll give you that funding. But it's really interesting because it kind of gives you an idea of what the market will look like, and it'll kind of give you an edge going forward. And again, it doesn't have to be for grad school. It can be for just if you're going into the job market. This is a really interesting one that makes you a competitive candidate. All right, next slide, please. All right, the second one I'm going to talk about is volunteering. And volunteering allows you to do something that brings you joy while simultaneously helping you in your career endeavors. Next slide, please. So there's many organizations dedicated for volunteering, but I think that to be successful in volunteering, you have to go in with these 4 kind of preconditions for successful volunteering. So the first one I'm going to talk about is purpose. Purpose means that you selected a program that instills an ethical vision of human flourishing, and that encourages you to reflect and grow and want to make the world a better place. The second one is student preparation. So before volunteering, you should kind of be aware what the organization you're going to volunteer for does. And so you should kind of know, or at least get training on the knowledge of the organization, their political history, their pressures, or how current events hurt them or benefit them, their group customs or patterns, their skills, their research methods. And so you kind of get to know them, and that way, once you're done with volunteering, you can take that with you and kind of be more competitive in the job market and really have taken advantage of the volunteering option. The fourth one is connect context to career goals and learning. So we should always be connecting your volunteering time to your desired career or desired goals through reflection and seeing if what you're doing corresponds with your career goals, your goals of civic engagement, your intercultural learning goals. So again, volunteering is for you to kind of grow, not only as someone that will go into the job market into graduate school, but it's also for you to grow as a person. And so with that is challenge and support. So always try to challenge yourself to learn something new and try to support the organization's cause even after you've departed with them, and support them in any way that you can. That way you're always kind of grateful for that opportunity because it's volunteering, so you should kind of try to take that with you. All right, next slide, please. Oh, before I go forward, if you have any questions so far, please put them in the Q&A and we'll address them at the end. Okay. So fourth option is to work, and you might go straight out of college into the work field, and so this might be a little bit different for everyone, but the goal of work is to get a little bit more experience in the job market. So whether that is through an internship or a paid time internship or just a full-time position, is to get a little bit more experience. Next slide, please. Okay, so if the goal is to get a skill in your field, let's say that you want to go into graduate school, right? But you don't have research skills. You don't know how to use statistical analysis programs. then you would want to work in a research lab where you can get those skills. Or maybe you want to work at, computer science, but you don't know that much about coding. You want to work at a place that will give you those skills. They'll make you competitive in the long run. So maybe a research lab in graduate school requires you to know how to use Excel. Maybe you want to work at an office where everything is through Excel. And so it's working to get something that will help you in the long run and make you a little bit more competitive. So here are some job searching opportunities that you can use, some tools. So first is Handshake, and that is through UCI. All of UCI positions will be posted on Handshake. And this is a very popular one among students. The next one is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a little bit more abroad, more broad, I guess, more wider spectrum. The fourth one is USA Jobs. And USA Jobs is more tailored to government jobs. So if you want to work, let's say in law, and you want to work at a court, that listing will be in USA Jobs. So if you want to work in the FBI, you want to get an internship at the FBI, that position will be listed in USA Jobs. So for finding internships and finding jobs, that is through here. And then the last one I have listed is the Anteater Network. The Anteater Network is a really cool tool that we have here at UCI that kind of pairs you up with a mentor. And if you want multiple, you can have multiple. And it's a social media site kind of where you can meet people, alums from UCI who are already, professionals in their field. And maybe they're looking for someone to mentor or to hire someone. And so through the Anteater Network, it's really good because you also can get a mentor in that process. Next slide, please. All right, and lastly, we're going to talk about studying. And so this one's, again, depending on what you want to do after you graduate. Maybe you want to go into grad school, maybe you want to go into the job market. But if you want to go into graduate school, maybe in a year or two, or maybe law school, since the goal is to go back to school, you want to kind of keep your mind fresh and keep studying so you don't fall back on material. Next slide, please. So here at UCI, you have a few resources to kind of do that studying. And I identified test prep specifically, whether that is the LSAT, what is the other one? LSAT, the GRE, whatever it is, there's resources here at UCI for you. So first, I wanted to identify that here at SARC with us, you can get a 15% discount for Princeton Review. So if you buy something or do any test prep with them on their site, you can put SARC UCI 15 at checkout to get 15% discount. So that's really nice. We also have test book loans. So in person, hopefully by fall, you would come into our office and you can check out a book, just like in the library, and we have lots of books, depending on what you are. We have different editions as well, so maybe you can check out 2 editions and get that test prep book without having to break the bank. And then we have the UCI Continuing Education. They have test prep courses, including the GRE, the LSAT, the GMAT, where you sign up for an entire course. And it's like, I want to say like 15 courses that you pay for. I'm not sure on the details. But the downside of this one is that you do have to pay for those test prep courses. However, they do have life strategy test workshops, and I don't think you have to pay for those. And in those, you just sign up and they go through like how to do a test, how to, when you're taking the test, like what are the strategies to do. So they have those resources. And then UCI libraries, you can check out any test prep book that they have. So they have a lot of books as well. So you can check out those test books. And even if you're not, let's say you already graduated, and you're doing, your gap year, you can still walk into UCI libraries and just sit down and read those books and make copies. So you're not limited to just being within UCI. And same thing for the strategy workshops, and the test prep courses. And so these are good resources to do test prep to kind of keep your mind sharp. So next slide, please.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I know that was a lot of information, so if you have any questions, I encourage you to go ahead and use the Q&A feature and they will be answered shortly. So Elizabeth was able to mention some of the programs. However, there is countless programs for each category. Next slide, please, Teresa. Thank you. Just a few extras would be City Year and Projects Abroad. So if you like a more structured way of, organizing your gap year, maybe one of these programs is a good fit for you. So if you want to have a year abroad or you want to work, study, or volunteer, they have like a whole resource guide that they will provide you when you subscribe or become a member of their program. So that's just something to consider if you want something more organized. Next slide, please. Okay, so this would be the time for questions. I'll go ahead and get started with one that we have. So for the application, would it be only if you want to take a gap year during your undergraduate years? What if you want to take a gap year between undergrad and graduate schooling? So I'm guessing like after undergrad, but in between grad school, so like in the middle. If I'm misinterpreting that, let me know. But it's just an encouragement because, even with letters of recommendation, like professors have so many students, right? And it gets complicated when you reach out after a few years and they try to remember you. So it would be nice if it's something that, you want to do in the future, maybe they can also draft a letter of recommendation for you, just so they can have like that, I guess like a fresher draft to look back at, if anything, like if you come to a more specific program in the future. I mean, there's always a benefit in that, right? Because you always already have like something drafted. And then after a few years, you're out of school. Sometimes we tend to forget, or we're not in that school mode as we usually are right after. So it's always convenient, just to have a draft that you could work off. And then you can also come to us. We could review your statements, give you some feedback, just so you can have something that you can count on, if anything. I don't know if Elizabeth or Carissa would like to add on.
I'm going to answer the next question. It says, how can we access the Anteater network? The website is antnet.net UCI, I think. Actually, it's antnet.uci.edu. Sorry. And for that one, it's you already have access to the Anteater network. So you just, with your UCI account, you just sign in and you have that. I think all you have to do is create a profile. So saying like, I'm this and this is my major, this is what I'm interested in doing with my career. And then you would kind of go through the people that are looking for mentors or looking someone to hire, and get paired up. It's really easy. You already have you can just do it with your UCI account.
I went ahead and put the link in the chat, so I think we're got that down. If there's any other links you'd like us to provide, we can certainly do that. But Nayeli, just to kind of bounce back off the other question, I suppose the importance of creating yourself a academic portfolio. So graduate school portfolio is kind of what we're talking about. So something that you can have at the end of your years at UCI to be able to take with you. And then when you're at that point of ready to apply to graduate school, at least you have something to hold on to, that you're prepared to submit. And maybe it's just a matter of looking through what you've written back in the day and then updating it. So that way you're not starting from scratch, right? So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Okay. If there's any last questions, go ahead and feel free to ask them.
There were some questions that were submitted before the session. So one of the questions was, if I do outside / off-campus research with an organization during my gap year, does it still look good as doing on-campus research? And I can answer that. So yes, definitely. Research is research, right? And so no matter where you do it, it looks good. Whether that is with a private company or through UCI, it's still good to have that experience. And especially if you're going into grad school where you're going to be doing research all the time, it's, sometimes you can't pick and choose where. So wherever you can get that experience, definitely take advantage of that.
Another question that was asked was, if you plan to attend law school and have to take a gap year, what can I do to become a more competitive candidate? So maybe you want to take that time to start studying for any entrance exams you need for law school. The more time you have to study, the more likely you're going to do well on it, right? Maybe also want to intern at a law firm, or just have like any experience that's going to make you stand out that perhaps you didn't have the opportunity to do as an undergrad. So just anything that will make you more competitive. So hands-on experience, or just studying for your entrance exams, that really helps.
I can add to that. I think I was talking to someone that is in charge of doing law school applications, and they said that a lot of when people get asked like, why do you want to go into law school, it's kind of like, oh, it's the next step forward. And kind of law schools try to avoid that. What they're looking for is someone that has had experience in the law school, in law, typically just the area of law, and that with that experience, it solidified their desire to go into law school. So it wasn't just a decision to like, oh, now I guess I'm graduated. No, it's law school. And so typically it would be good to get an experience within law that kind of solidifies your desire and your motivation and gets pushed to go into law school and get that degree, because it's costly, it's time consuming, and so if you're gonna go forward, they want to see that you have experienced it first. So definitely like an internship would be amazing in a law firm, like Nayeli said. And so there's different opportunities to you. So definitely take advantage of them. Like I said, there's Handshake, there's the Anteater Network. There's so many opportunities that you can still use, even as you graduate at UCI, that you can still take advantage of.
And we did have one more question that I went ahead and answered, but someone was asking what counts as research, and so I don't know, maybe Elizabeth, if you want to talk about your own research experience and what has that been like.
Yeah, so it's a funny question. It's a very interesting question. What is research? Because it's a very interesting thing to define. So, like, let's say research for me looks at counting people and their opinions, like taking track of that. But maybe someone in the sciences, they see research and they see like chemicals and, the lab stuff. So, whatever you want to go into, it's about getting an experience and typing up that in a research paper, if that makes sense. So, if you can quantify what you're doing, that is research. So if you're creating an investigation, research is anything that once you're researching, you have a reason why, expectations, and that you can quantify it. And so sometimes research is just typing in numbers. You did a survey and you're just typing in numbers. That is research. Maybe sometimes it's going into the streets and surveying people. That is research. And if you can quantify it and make analysis on it, that is research.
Well, I'll go ahead and put our information up because I know we were out of time.
Yes. So with that said, thank you so much again for joining us today. We hope you were able to take away something from today's Sarcast. The Social Sciences Academic Research Center is available to support your professional endeavors. We provide feedback on your resumes and cover letters. We also provide guidance and assistance during your graduate school application process. So you can feel free to schedule a consultation with us today or whenever it's convenient for you to talk about internships, graduate school, or research. For more information, I will drop in our URL in the chat. And we are open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Our email, you can always feel free to email us and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for any updates.
Thank you everyone for attending.
Yeah, and then someone's asking about the sheet that they're gonna get at the end. Do you want to talk about the email that's coming to their inbox?
Yes, so in the email, we will attach the PowerPoint presentation just for if you want to go back and look at something specific for your own reference. And we will also be attaching a sheet with resources on programs that were mentioned and were not mentioned in the presentation. That way you can look at it more carefully on your own time and see if there's one you might be interested in. So that will be sent to you.
Okay, I guess that is a wrap. Thank you, Nayeli. We'll
Thank you
go
all.
ahead. Yeah.
And the link is in the chat if you want to check out our website. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.